Hey guys, if you're new to Clay, in this video I'm going to show you the 5 steps to take every single time whenever you're building a cold outreach campaign from scratch. So first of all, we start with step 1, and that's understanding the 3 Ps. Specifically, first of all, asking the question of who are we selling to, who is the ideal client profile, what pain points are they going through, and what product are we selling. In this case, in this demonstration, I'm going to use the example of selling email services to direct-to-consumer e-commerce companies in the United States. And that brings me nicely to the second step, which is figuring out where to source the leads from. Now, a lot of the time this will be too overwhelming, but for the purpose of this video, I'll just give you an example. There are a bunch of different lead sources depending on the target audience, but for the purpose of e-commerce businesses, the best place to find them is store leads. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to go to store leads. We're going to basically buy a database of a bunch of businesses with the verified emails of everyone that works in those e-commerce businesses. And that would bring us nicely to step number 3, which is thinking of what a super personalized email would look like if you were to send it manually. Now, I'm sure you can go and follow some cool creators out there. I'll make sure to comment their names and tag them under this post. And specifically, you can see the email templates in this case that I want to send out to e-commerce companies. So I want to start with their first name. I want to mention the best-selling item on their website. I want to also mention the amount of website visitors that they have. And the really cool thing that I want to have here is to show them the kind of impacts that we can have on their business based on their average order volume and based on how much traffic they're getting on their website. Now, this email should be super personalized. And once again, as soon as we understand that those are the dynamic variables, we can then go and find each individual dynamic variable inside of Clay. Please note that up to this point, I do not enter Clay until I have this final email template. And the reason for that is quite simple. When you enter the Clay sheets, you would be overwhelmed. The chances are you'll have a dopamine spike and you could not resist wasting a bunch of credits just messing around. So without further ado, what we're going to do now is break down all the variables. And in this case, each variable will be a separate enrichment inside of Clay. So the way it will work is we'll basically import all of the store leads companies. So in this case, we have the first name, their last name, and we have their website. We'll click on file, we'll download it as a CSV, and inside of Clay, we'll basically create a new table. And straight away, we will import from CSV, and we can drag and drop the file over here, as you can see on my screen right now. Now we'll create a new blank table, we'll complete the import, and at this moment in time, we'll just let it load. As soon as it loads, we'll then go back to the exact setup here. And the first thing that we need to find is the first dynamic variable, which is the best-selling item from their website. In this case, we can get it using Clayagent, which is the web scraping tool inside of Clay. And what we're going to do here is we're going to feed it this specific prompt. So what we're going to do is go inside of Clay here, click on Add Enrichment, type in Clayagent, and at that moment in time, we're able to copy and paste this entire prompt. So here we go. At that moment in time, we can also save some credits by just basically selecting a different model. I'm not going to spend too much time on this for the time being, but we can then run all the rows and we should see the output. It's just loaded. You can see all the best selling items. And once again, we can now personalize the first line of the email, which once again, if we go back to the template here, will be, hey, I just added this item to the cart. And notice this specific thing on your website. Now, the second thing we want to do after that is we want to find out how many website visitors the company has. So in this case, once again, we will use SimilarWeb, and all we have to do is go inside of the Clay sheets, type in SimilarWeb, here we are, and click on Get Website Visits. Now, at that moment in time, we can import the company website, continue to add fields, and basically save and run all the rows. Now, as soon as that happens, we should get the final output within a couple of seconds. And over here, we can see how many visitors the website gets on a monthly basis. So next up, we have the assumed average order amount. So this could be in dollars. And what we're going to do over here is basically copy and paste the exact prompt. So in case it will be this specific prompt. And what we'll do is once again, we'll go Add Enrichment, click on Clayagent, and straight away, we can copy and paste the prompt and go from there. At that moment in time, we can just test the prompt by clicking on Save and Don't Run. And of course, as a next step, we can basically then click all of the buttons. Now that we know that each individual order has a certain amount over here, we can then basically click and run the entire column just so that we can then add it to the final email template. So now one of the final steps that we need to take is then basically just to calculate in total the amount of untapped revenue for the business. And once again, we can do that separately. Now, just bear in mind that we need to calculate the amount of money that the company has in untapped revenue, which potentially you can bring to them. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to click on Add Enrichment, type in ChatGPT, and feed it the prompt. So we're going to copy and paste this great prompt over here. I'm going to click on save and run rows. So what this should calculate is basically how much money we could bring to that company. And if we go back, we can see over here all of the amounts, which we can then put inside of the email copy. Not to bore you any further, what we can now do is click on actions and click on draft email. And now we can copy and paste the entire template from the draft and replace the dynamic variables with the variables that we researched inside of Clay. So if I just do it one by one, I'm going to show you how to do it with one of them, and then I'm going to repeat the same process to get the entire template sorted. This is what the final template would look like. You can see that I just filled in all the dynamic variables, and now we're going to basically run it across every individual response, and I'm going to show you what the final output looks like straight after that. Click one of the templates here. You can read this email for yourself, and this says, hey, I just added this item to my cart. Notice the opt-in pop-up captures just the email and not the phone number. Usually this causes this loss in revenue. And once again, you can see that the numbers were automatically filled in based on the previous output. And essentially straight after that, we add a bit of social proof. And right away, we also have a killer offer here, which is basically rewriting their welcome email flow, which will hopefully improve all of their future traffic conversions going forward.